Panther Nation, what's good? Welcome back to Carolina's Armchair GM. I am your host, CJ. All right, and welcome to this week's episode of Let's Look at the Tape. And as you all know, the Panthers, they got off to a very rough start against Arizona this past Sunday. All right. They had two straight drives of turnovers. There was this sack fumble that led to a touchdown for the Cardinals. And then on the very next drive, Bryce Young got hit and it ended up being intercepted by the Cardinals defense. Okay. Offensive line had issues in those first two drives. They did get their stuff together for the most part for the rest of the game. Okay. But what I want to go over here is just a few plays because if you looked at my live on Monday, I named it a comeback full of what ifs. So I want to look at a few plays and discuss the what ifs that happened Sunday in Arizona. All right, everybody. Now, as you can see, this is the first turnover of the game. This was the sack fumble on the third play of the game. Okay. Now you see Arizona is showing blitz here. They got 7 men in the box, but they only end up bringing 5 players. Okay. This lineman, these two linebackers, lineman here, and this edge rusher right here. 5 Browning drops back into coverage. Okay. So if I hit play here. Okay. Now what happens is Josh Sweat right here, and credit to him, they do a stunt and he goes around number 27. Okay. So Icky is picking up number 25. Collins coming off the edge here. And as you can see, Austin Corbett is passing number 27 off to Damian Lewis. Okay. Let me get that off the screen. Robert Hunt on this side passes, I think that's Stalls, if I'm not mistaken, number 66. Passes him off to Taylor Moton. Okay. But where this play starts to break down is Rico Dowdle picks up number 2, Wilson Jr. Okay. And Rico does not do a good job picking up this block at all. All right. So let me get this off the screen and hit play. All right. All right. Now right here. Okay. Wilson Jr. right here is he's already beat Rico. Okay. Now it looks like Austin Corbett sees Josh Sweat right here. And I don't know if he thought that maybe Robert Hunt or somebody was over here, that can pick him up, but he kind of just sticks his arm out there and that's it. And that's really all he does. Okay. So now if I let it play. All right. Josh Sweat is through. Wilson Jr. is past Rico Dowdle, and Austin Corbett is not really blocking anybody, and Robert Hunt is turned to his left looking like, there should have been somebody there for him to block. All right. And then, as you see, sack fumble, and then they get it for the touchdown. Again, let me let this play run back full speed here. But yeah, good job by the Cardinals, though. Okay. The stunt by Sweat. In our offensive line, our center and guards, our interior, looked like they were really confused, especially Austin Corbett. I think if I had to lay blame on the offensive line for what happened with them, I think this was Corbett's mistake. Okay? I really do. Now, holding on to the ball, that's all on Bryce Young. Bryce Young has to hold on to that ball so that this stuff doesn't happen. Okay? So this is the first one of the what-if plays. All right, and this was a big one because this one led to 7 basically free points for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, let's go on to the next play. All right, now this next play, another what if play. This is the play where Bryce Young threw the interception. Okay, now let this play through. It looks like Bryce is staring T-Mac down this entire time. Okay, so you got T-Mac down here on the bottom of the screen, who is covered up by Will Johnson. All right. Now, if you look at Bryce Young's face, like I said, he is looking this way the entire time. If he did look this way up here, I only think it was a slight glance, but not enough to really make a difference. So my thing is, now you see the pressure coming on the inside. And when you look at it from the end zone view, which I'll show you in a moment, Bryce is fading to his left. Okay. So I think he feels that pressure coming. All right. My thing is, if you still look, okay, he's down here looking at T-Mac. T-Mac is covered. All right, Will Johnson has him covered. Okay, my thing is this. I think Bryce, and I caught a lot of flack for this in some shorts that I made, where people were saying he literally had only 2 seconds to do anything because his offensive lineman, didn't block anybody. All right, that may be the case. I think he had a little bit more than just 2 seconds. And I think he had enough time here to just tuck this ball and take the sack. I think this was an unnecessary attempt for him. Because if he's looking at T-Mac right now, T-Mac is covered up. And this is a ball that he should not even attempt to throw. But he did. And as you can see, what happened with the attempt, he got hit, ball was picked off, and that's all she wrote. All right. Now, let's take a look at this from the end zone view. All right. So again, you see the Cardinals got 7 in the box, but they're only going to bring 5. Okay. So you have Browning and Collins right here, who at the snap are going to fall back into coverage. All right. And everybody else on this play is going to be coming to try and get the ball from Bryce Young, which they end up successfully doing. All right. So let me hit play here real quick. And as you can see, okay, now mind you, before I do that, all right, you can't see Calais Campbell, but he is right here in front of Wilson Jr. Okay, I'm gonna let this run real quick all the way through, and then I'll go back and do my take on it. But pay attention to Calais Campbell right here. Hit, interception. Okay, now go ahead and play this again. Okay, now look at what Calais Campbell does. Calais Campbell, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. If I'm not, please let me know. But it's almost like Calais Campbell just kind of gets his hands on 3 of our offensive linemen just to kind of get their attention and kind of almost in a sense make them forget about the fact that Buda Baker and Wilson Jr. are rushing on this play. Okay. So watch big Calais Campbell right here. All right. He gets his hands on Robert Hunt. He gets his hands on Austin Corbett. And also gets his hands on Damian Lewis. Okay. And by the time Corbett and Hunt, really figure anything out, as you can see, the play is past them. Robert Hunt is turned around looking like, oh crap. And Corbett is still standing looking like, okay, who else do I need to block? Now, by this time, Wilson Jr., like I said, is already there. Okay. And he is about to make the play. But what I say about Bryce, potentially not throwing this pass, like if you look, okay, so it looks like right here he's looking towards the middle of the field, and it looks like he takes a slight look to his right. Okay, I know he can see Buda Baker. Well, I know, but I'm just going to say that he gets a glimpse of Buda Baker and Wilson Jr. coming his way. Okay, then he looks towards T-Mac. All right. And like I said, by the time this is right here, by the time this is all set in motion right here, T-Mac is covered up. All right. And I still think he waited just a tad bit too long to try and make this throw, tuck this ball away and take the sack. Like I said, he felt the pressure coming to him and tried to slide to his left. And then at the last second, you can't do that, Bryce. You absolutely can't do that. You just got to go ahead and take the sack, big dog. You got to go ahead and take the sack. But again, shout out to the Cardinals for their pressure on this play, just like the pressure they had on the first one. And, and the offensive line was confused for the second time in 2 drives. And yeah, okay. My thing is, offensive line takes blame for not protecting right, but I don't think you can take all the blame away from Bryce on this as well, because I do think that this is one of those plays where he should have just tucked the ball and took the sack. Okay. I still don't think there was no reason for him to try to throw this ball. All right. So let's take a look at the next play. All right. Now, XL caught a lot of flack, in this game. He had 8 targets for -2 yards. Okay. And he has been getting the business on social media ever since. Okay. But this play here in particular, this is the second to last drive for the Panthers in the first half. Technically the last drive, because the very last drive, it was just one play, a kneel, and they went into halftime. Okay. Now the first play on this drive, they handed the ball off to Chuba Hubbard, and they waited to get back to the line of scrimmage and run this play. All right. Now, when I first looked at this play and I saw this, and Bryce rolls out, he tries to throw it to XL, I thought that maybe this was a pass that XL just didn't come up with. Okay. But when we go to the end zone view, you'll see something different. Okay. So this is the end zone view from that same play. All right. Bryce steps back in the pocket. He rolls out a little bit, not under a whole lot of pressure right here. Okay. So let me take this back. And again, I say Bryce Young right here is not under any real pressure. He rolls out and then he just throws a gutter ball. Okay. He just throws a gutter ball. There's no reason for him to roll out like this and just throw that ball that low to XL. Okay. My thing is, you get that throw up to him, XL might be able to go and get the first down, or he might be damn close to it, closer than what we was when the play started. All right. Okay. So let me go to the next play. All right. So this is the play where he threw the third down pass to JT Sanders. Okay. Now for let this play, throws, catches, everything looks good. All right. They rushed to get back to the line of scrimmage, and then they reviewed the play. They went to commercial, came back, and overruled the catch. Okay. Overruled the catch. Now, if you look at it from the end zone view, and I'll say the same thing about this play that I did the last one. Right here. Bryce is not under any severe pressure right here on this throw. Okay. He gets the ball to Sanders. Right. Now, mind you, Moulton is close to him, but he hasn't touched him yet. So Bryce gets this ball off before Taylor Moulton's man sort of pushes him into him. All right. Now, the old saying, you get your hands on it, you got to catch it. Okay. So again, I'm not going to put all the blame on Bryce on this play. But the one thing I will say on this play, and just like the last one, okay, my only thing with Bryce here is if you put a pass where JT Sanders can catch this standing up on the run, he gets this first down and he might get 5 or 6 more yards. Okay. Hit the man in stride and he probably gets to almost to the 30-yard line. Okay. And then the Panthers defense wouldn't be in the next predicament that they're in. Okay. But again, like I said, I do believe that this was a catch by JT Sanders, but at the same time, Bryce could have also gave that man a better pass where he wouldn't have to bend down and go try and catch it falling towards the ground. He could have threw this ball, hit that man in the stride, and he might have got 5 or 6 extra yards past the line of scrimmage, and the drive could have continued. Now let's go to the next play. All right. So now to continue with the what if theme. Okay. Now, what if Bryce would have got the ball up to XL? What if he would have threw a better pass to JT Sanders? So all that being said, the Panthers punted and then they ended up here. All right. Arizona drove down the field and they got into the red zone. Now on this play right here, and I did a reel or short on this one, whatever you want to call it. And the one thing I'm saying on this play, everybody seemed to be where they were supposed to be, but my good friend Nick Scott. Okay, and the more that I watch this play, I have to rope Shao Smith-Wade into this as well. All right, because as you can see, Roseboom and Wallace are up on the line of scrimmage, but both of them, when the ball is snapped, Roseboom picks up Trey McBride, and then Wallace falls back into coverage right here. Okay. Now, also on this play, when the ball is snapped, Nick Scott kind of follows Roseboom and Wallace this way. Okay. Now, again, if I'm wrong, y'all let me know. Look at Shao Smith-Wade right here. He already, him and Mike Jack are both turned towards the inside of the field. And to me, like I said, if I'm wrong, let me know. To me, that seems like they're playing outside leverage. Okay. Now, when the ball is snapped, Mike Jackson turns around and faces the running back down here at the bottom of the field. Okay. But Shao Smith-Wade does turn his body inside. But like I said, ball the snap, And I don't know. Okay, so you got Kyler Murray here. I don't know if Nick Scott thought that Kyler Murray was looking at Trey McBride. Okay, but look at Shaw Smith Wade down here at the bottom. All right, he turns and starts playing like he thinks he has help on the inside, but Nick Scott is drifting back towards Trey McBride. All right, and I don't know if that was his read, that was his coverage assignment, or what. But when Kyler Murray lets this ball go, the play is over. Because look at Shaw Smith Wade right there. He's beat. And then at the last second, Nick Scott tries to get over here and trying to get into this area right here to help cover this play, but it's too late. All right. So if I let this play, touchdown. All right. And again, like I said, Nick Scott drifts over with Roseboom and McBride. Shaw Smith Wade. The way Shaw Smith Wade was playing this play, it looks like he was expecting help, on the inside, but it just wasn't there. All right. Let this play again. You see Nick Scott drifting towards the middle of the field. Roseboom has Trey McBride covered. Okay. Everybody else is covered. All right. Kyler Murray launches this ball and hits him in stride. Okay. And like I said, this is, again, one of those what if plays for me, because what if the Panthers were able to get that first down on their last drive? The defense, maybe, just maybe, but, I really don't believe the defense should have been in this position to begin with. All right. Now, everything wasn't all bad in this game. As you know, the Panthers did make a comeback. Okay. Let's take a look at a couple plays where all hope was not lost. All right, everybody. This was a 4th and 16 play on that second to last drive where we got down and scored the touchdown and got the game to 22-7. 27-22. Okay. So this was the 4th down and 16 pass. All right. And if you let this play, all right, Bryce gets a little pressure, steps up, guns it, Bryson Tremaine, first down. All right. Now let's take a look at the end zone view. All right. Now as you see here, Bryce is in the gun. Chuba's back there with him. All right. Chuba goes out. Bryce steps up. Now I don't know right here. Okay, right here, if he does just enough, because if I'm not mistaken, there's Buda Baker right there. Okay, I don't know if he does just enough to hold Buda Baker for a hot second, because I think he looks towards Jatavian Sanders, who's right there just outside of the screen right here. Just enough. Bryce gets hit. And as you can see, like I was saying, JT Sanders was right here. Okay. Here's Buda Baker. Like I said, I don't know if Bryce did just enough to get him to kind of jump towards JT Sanders just a little bit, enough for Bryce to get this ball off to Bryson Tremaine and get the first down. And like I said, all hope is not lost, because, like I said, if Bryce and this offense can build on plays like this, I think we have some room for improvement. All right. And again, and the thing that, like I said, I liked about this play here. All right. Bryce feels his pressure. Okay. And he steps up in the pocket. Okay. Mind you, he still ends up getting hit, but he stepped up in the pocket, just got the ball off. Drive continues, first down. All right. Let's take a look at one more play. All right. So last play here, positive play. Okay. So this is, I forgot what down distance it was. I think this was 1st and goal, if I'm not mistaken, after Renfro got the ball and got down to the 1 yard line. Okay. Now you see Bryce. Okay. Play action fake. Now, what happens is that play action fake brought Buda Baker down just enough. And I mean just enough to give Hunter Renfro time to get into this little open area right here. Okay. Right here. And it's a good thing that he did, because if you look, these guys coming off this edge right here are unblocked. All right. If Bryce holds onto this ball a split second longer, he's getting sacked. Okay. All right. So let me let the play run. And then Bryce with the sidearm, the little flick of the wrist, gets it right in there. Okay. But yeah, Renfro touchdown. All right. Now let's take a look at it from the end zone view. Okay, so as you can see, Buda Baker right here is creeping towards the line of scrimmage because I think he's anticipating this as being a run. All right. So when the ball is snapped, and it looks like he kind of came to the line of scrimmage, but his whole plan was to back off because Bryce hasn't even completed the fake yet. And as you can see, Buda Baker is already stopping and trying to get back towards Hunter Renfrow. Okay. And again, like I said, a great fake. Now, he probably could have handed the ball off to Chuba, and he may have been able to get up in this gap right here and get into the end zone. All right. He didn't do that, but what he did, I'm glad he went ahead and got the play off in time because, like I said, these two guys right here came completely unblocked, and they were going to take Bryce Young's head off if they could have got to him. Okay. Like I said, the little wrist flick, and look, got it right in there between Williams and Buda Baker. All right, for the touchdown. All right, so let me know what y'all think. Okay, again, a lot of what if plays in this game. I'm glad that the Panthers were able to make a comeback. However, they were able to make it. Okay, I hope to the good Lord above that they'll be able to take this momentum. Hopefully it's momentum for them into next week in the home opener against the Falcons. Okay. And speaking of the Falcons game, before I get up out of here, I am giving away 2 tickets to the Falcons game, the Carolina Panthers home opener this Sunday, September 21st. Okay. To be automatically entered to win these tickets, join my Patreon page, the Co-GM tier, the $10 tier. And as a member of the Co-GM tier, you will be automatically entered for a chance to win tickets to this Sunday's game. Okay. Please make sure if you're going to do it, you are entered by this Friday at 5 o'clock because the drawing will be later on Friday evening. So, Panther Nation, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. All right. As always, I'm going to leave y'all with 3 things. Number 1, y'all be good. Number 2, y'all be safe. And number 3, as always, Panther Nation, keep pounding, man. I'll see you.